And we're back here live with you for another Meltdown draft. This time we're picking the best American cartoons to ever exist. Which choices will be the first to be taken off the board, we shall see. I'm not sure if you're aware, but there's a pretty big presidential debate happening tonight. Which future non-politician participants would Lunsford like to see go toe-to-toe on the issues in a debate-style format? We will find out with another Luntz's List. And a stage and screen icon passed away yesterday. We will take some time to pay our respects to the legendary James Earl Jones. It's all happening right here on The Meltdown as we are presented by MyBookie, broadcasting live from the Culver studio.
Two big boys in a tiny studio, teaching you and me about everything they know to make sound. A meltdown, it's the meltdown, time for the meltdown, coming for the meltdown, let's start the show.
Welcome in, you beautiful, loyal Meltdonians. We're happy to have you here with another edition of The Meltdown, live with you every day, 2 o'clock Central, 3 o'clock Eastern. If you can't watch the live show, we still appreciate that thumbs up and your support in the comment section as well. Thank you for being here each and every day. I am Meltdown host Tim Melton. That is my co-host, Mr. John Lunsford.
Me?
Yes, you.
Me. Wow.
You're going to be center stage tomorrow as you and Spud are teaming up for some tag team trivia.
Yep.
Last night I got a little taste of y'all's chemistry sitting at the same poker table. Y'all were side by side. And I do feel like you guys could be a force to be reckoned with in this little mini tournament before we get to the championship round.
I mean, that's the hope. I have won more than anybody. He has won more titles than anybody. Therefore, we should have the experience to win. But, you know, the wheel sucks. So it can come for everybody.
All right. Well, it's Tyler's world. We're all just living in it. He's not only the reigning Meltdown Triple Threat Trivia Singles World Champion, but he's also the reigning Draft Champion. Tyler, you've been on a high over the past month or so. How are things going for you?
Pretty good. It's been a long day. I'm ready for this draft, though. I think I've got a really solid list.
You're looking to bring the hits today again, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, this one is a category that is definitely not in my wheelhouse, but I'm going to bring my A-plus effort. You're not going to see another draft of mine that ranks on the scale of my video game draft for sure. Raul, I'm sorry, as you cut the papayas right now, that you had to endure that, even though you gave me a vote of confidence. I appreciate that. I'm going to perform on your behalf today. Today's performance is dedicated to you, Raul. So, John, I'd like to start off with this. Sony has officially confirmed the release of its next console, the PS5 Pro. The device will launch November 7th, and it will retail at $699.99. What do you make of the PS5 Pro? Because I've still been waiting to get use out of the PlayStation 5 with some big games for that system already, and this feels like a little bit of an unnecessary upgrade in my opinion.
So I brought my PlayStation up here last January for our Madden League, and it has not gone home with me since because I don't really miss it that much. When I do play console, it is Xbox, a little Switch, and no PlayStation because it has been up here and I don't miss it. This is what you call a waste of R&D dollars, a waste of marketing dollars, a waste of everybody's time, and stupid.
Wow, this sounds like Tyler after having seen Not Another Church Movie. That's exactly what I'm getting here from the vibes of this review.
Hey,
but
if he'd watch it a second time and I would watch an ad for this a second time, maybe I'll grow on it. I don't know.
What's the major selling point here for those? I mean, obviously,
literally nothing.
If you're Sony loyal and you got to have everything that they put out, I mean, those people are going to buy this up.
I mean, and those people exist, definitely. But the price is not the selling point. The performance is not enough of an upgrade where you're not necessarily like the Xbox One to the Xbox One X is like, or Series X, Series S, those new consoles. Like, they develop games for those new consoles. Like, is it essentially the same but a little better? Yes, but like that is what things are being developed for now. This doesn't seem like it's a necessity for games moving forward. You can still play on your PlayStation 5, and the performance may be a little better, but that's like They just announced the iPhone 16. I just got the iPhone 15 not too long ago, so I don't feel like I need to rush out right now. Plenty of Apple loyalists will, but I don't feel like I need to rush out right now and get the iPhone 16 because it's just a tiny little bit better. I'll wait till my contract comes up and I'll go get the 17 or 18 or whatever they're on at that point.
What I want to know is what games are out right now for the PS5 that would necessitate more processing power than the regular PS5 already has, because one of the things I've loved about the PS5 is the ray tracing. That's really cool graphics wise, but also loading times are pretty much nothing for most games. And when you go back and play old games, the performance is even better. So I just don't know what the point is.
This reminds me of the character that was the main villain there in the second Wonder Woman movie, Wonder Woman 1984, where it's like, life is good, but it can be better, or whatever it was. It was something like that. And this is what Sony's basically
a rare
doing.
miss from Pedro.
It was a rare miss. That movie's not very good. But it does feel like, I mean, if you have a PS5 and it craps out, your hope, I think, is to find another PS5 at maybe a cheaper rate than what you originally paid for a PS5 compared to upgrading to the PS5 Pro. This isn't even a system that I feel like you would want if your PlayStation for some reason went up in smoke or it went missing or...
No, because it's $700.
Yeah, I mean, and it has no disk drive.
And it has no disk drive.
Wait. No,
you can buy a disc drive separately for like another $150, $200, and you can buy a stand for it separately.
You
Doesn't
can't
even come
watch
with a stand.
You can't watch the 4K of Not Another Church movie on this device.
Stand and disc driver separate?
Yep.
That's disgusting. I mean, at least with the PlayStation 5, you could choose if you wanted the digital version or the disc version, and just pay the price difference based on that. But
Yep.
a separate disc drive and stand.
It's literally a waste of everybody's time and money.
Well, I mean, they're going to sell a lot of these when Grand Theft Auto 6 comes out, for sure.
They may, but that's also a year away.
And I'm talking about
to where the price will be at that point, because nobody can buy this. So it's like, you can get the Pro now for $400 instead of $700.
Well, there we have it. We'll see how this launch goes. It really does make what Nintendo is doing with their next edition of the Switch that much more interesting, because I do think it'll be way more consumer-friendly than what we're seeing here from Sony.
This would have been better, let's say, early next year, or I guess this is kind of coming around holiday season, but like early next year, once you have like the first gameplay of GTA, say this is what GTA 6 runs like, because GTA 6 is going to be a very involved game in a lot of different areas, to where it's like you can run this game flawlessly on the PS5 Pro. Now it's just like we're just showing the same old games that you're playing perfectly fine on your PlayStation 5, but the loading may go from 10 seconds to 9 seconds. And it's like, okay, I mean, cool, I guess. After all the loading screens, I will have saved 20 seconds in my day.
I mean, people always want the best and the newest and the most powerful, and that's what's being offered here is an elite experience. For me, I don't have as many questions about the hardware as I do the software. I want better games. I want newer games. I want a game library that I can clearly associate with this generation of consoles, and minus, college football and maybe just a handful of other titles. A lot of titles haven't been standalone in this current generation.
And like with the iPhone, because they had announced a new iPhone yesterday, so I feel like there's some similarities to the announcements here. Like moving one level up, a lot of times isn't necessarily like earth-shattering. Now, certain points going from one to the other may be massive, but like what Apple does, and I know I'm the lone iPhone user in the room right now, but like what Apple does is they announce new software that then say, hey, there's certain features you're only going to be able to do with this software with our new hardware. Like for a while there were certain touch things you could do with the screen that you couldn't do with the old model. You get the new model. You still get the new operating system, but like you can't quite unlock its full potential. I didn't even necessarily hear this from the PS5 Pro that's like, hey, we're unveiling all these new, all this new cool software and everything, and you can only do it on the PS5 Pro. Like with game consoles that are this expensive, a lot of times you got to make it where, well, you can still play the games on your PS5. Well, we're still going to release games for the PS5. Even with the Xbox One, I feel like they still release Xbox One and Xbox One X versions of games So there's literally nothing to this, no reason for me to get this.
I'm with you.
And it's that much more than an actual PlayStation 5 is.
That's the early assessment here on this. It seems like the most unnecessary product launch that I've seen, especially from Sony, to this point in its cherished console history. So that's where we're at. Producer Tyler, once again here with us, living his best life. What all are you going to go see at the movie theater this week? Because you have a full slate ahead.
Oh yeah. So let me pull up my AMC list just so I get the full list for you.
Please do.
Thursday, I believe I'm seeing Speak No Evil. Saturday, I've got Transformers 1 Early Access. This is John going to see Joker. It's me knocking it out. Me just getting done with it. And
I won't
then
even do that with Transformers 1. At least I'll do it with Joker.
Friday, I'm probably going to see the Dave Bautista Killers game movie.
Now, this is an interesting premise because it's Bautista.
It's like if you had the idea for a cool premise and you got ChatGPT to actually write the script.
That's what it looks like, yeah.
Because there are so many stupid cliche one-liners that I can tell ChatGPT just pulled from the internet somewhere all throughout the trailer. And it's like, if this is the trailer, I imagine the movie is just going to be more of the same. It doesn't have necessarily bad people in it. I'm sure the action's fine in it, even though Bautista is getting on up there.
For a second, I thought you were talking about the movie Chappie, which is also a horrible movie.
I actually, I
you
refused.
like Chappie?
No, I refused to see it because that's Neil Blomkamp, isn't it?
Yeah.
Everything else he's done, I have enjoyed, and I really like Elysium. District 9 is one of the best movies ever made, and I refuse to. And I like Gran Turismo, but I refuse to watch Chappie because I know it's not going to live up to everything else that he's done.
He was the chosen one, and then all of a sudden he started making more movies, and it was like, oh, let's pull back on that. He was supposed to get his own Alien movie at one point.
District 9 really was a lot of Peter Jackson. That's really what pushed
Seems to be the case. So, Tyler, good luck at the Cineplex. I want to see none of those movies. So
I don't blame you.
I'm relying on you to tell me if one is a must-see. I am still standing strong that I refuse to see Speak No Evil.
I thought you were seeing it this weekend.
My sister reached out, and she was like, hey, you want to go with Jeff and your wife and me to all go see Speak No Evil? And I was like, I absolutely despise this movie. I hate the marketing. I'm still convinced that they'll still show the trailers even after this film is released.
Yep.
And I don't want to see this. I really don't. So it's really up to you, Tyler, to tell me whether or not it's a must-see, can't-miss event from James McAvoy.
I don't feel like it will be. They give away the whole story in the trailer.
I mean,
I feel that way too.
To see this on Thursday.
It's a 2-part trailer. Part 1 kind of sets it up. Part 2 is the sequel to the first trailer, and they just seem to be
and they're both
it.
awful.
And the movie's just the director's cut of the trailers.
It is. Okay, let's get to a life well lived here. James Earl Jones was an active actor from 1953 to 2021. Think about that span right there. Pretty impressive. And you never got the sense that he didn't fully love what he was doing. Born in Mississippi in 1931 and notably battled a severe stutter as a child, he was able to fight through it and is a very inspirational figure in Hollywood and on Broadway. After college and then the Army, serving in the Korean War, Jones's theater work went on to include numerous Broadway plays. His work earned 4 Tony nominations, winning for The Great White Hope in 1969 and Fences in 1987, which was later adapted into a film starring Denzel Washington. He garnered his Primetime Emmy wins in 1991 for Best Supporting Actor in the miniseries Heat Wave and Best Actor for the series Gabriel's Fire. But everyone looks back to when, in 1977, he was cast as the voice of Darth Vader in Star Wars. He went on to reprise that role several more times. I just want to talk about the Star Wars angle of this currently. When you think of greatest movie villains of all time, if we were doing a greatest movie villains of all time draft right now, of course a character like the Joker would go. Of course a character like Thanos would go. But I do think, and there's a very strong argument, that number 1 top tier first overall pick of the first round should be Darth Vader and what he did for cinema. And the performance itself does not work without the voice of James Earl Jones. Do either of you disagree with me on that sentiment?
Nope.
You can make the argument.
Okay.
I mean, if I was drafting, I don't know if I drafted number 1, but he definitely is top 5, and he's definitely in consideration.
Okay. Well,
But the voice, I don't know that I've ever heard the guy that actually played him, like you see at the end of like in Return of the Jedi when they take the mask off, what he actually really sounds like. Like, does he even talk at the end of Return of the Jedi? I mean, if he does, he's dying. But
I've seen voice performances from the actor who was in the Darth Vader get up for, A New Hope, or at that time just known as Star Wars. But I heard his voice there on the set reading the lines, and if you hear that interpretation, man, it's just an incomplete character.
I haven't gone that deep into it because I don't really want to hear it because you know what Darth Vader is supposed to sound like. And even Darth Vader was second for me behind Mufasa because that was coming out when we were children and watching that. But then that's like, they asked the question on the next round today between Morgan Freeman and James Earl Jones, who has the better voice. And overall, most people chose Morgan Freeman, but I've always liked those like ultra deep voice of God kind of voices, even though it's funny because Morgan Freeman played God. But like, they had a guy on, I can't remember his name, but he's the Colorado play-by-play guy, because we played one clip of him talking to Deion Sanders last week, and he had this super like ultra bass deep voice, and it's very similar. I mean, he's kind of like a cowboy, so it's kind of a different overall sound than like what James Earl Jones has. But that kind of voice overall just so works for me, and that going with a villain as well makes that villain that much more intimidating when you have that deep, deep, deep voice. And obviously it's going through a mask, which is why that voice would be so different than what like Hayden Christensen would have had, or whoever. And I don't even remember the guy that played Darth Vader, but that makes it so much more intimidating, that super deep voice. And that's why I like that voice so much more.
I know you're not a huge fan of episode 3, and I think though that the highlight of episode 3 is the moment where you have Darth Vader for the very first time in the prequel series. And while there is
the no scream at
while
the
there
end.
is a no scream in there, seeing him rise with the Emperor, knowing that he has his number one draft pick, his top threat, and is finally reached this moment of domination, of fully turning Anakin to the dark side. It is a moment that really stands out, that end of the prequel trilogy montage of being something that gives you goosebumps. I really do get goosebumps when I see that. And James Earl Jones, I mean, while his voice started to age definitely for the role of Darth Vader a little bit in something like Rogue One, where it didn't seem to carry the same amount of youthfulness and weight that it needed to in that particular moment, there's no doubt that the Darth Vader character never was a more menacing force than what we saw probably in Rogue One, especially with that hallway sequence. The character of Vader, it was a double punch from those that were physically embodying that character, and for those like James Earl Jones that brought the character truly to life, along with George Lucas and his vision, and has become such a notable part of cinema history. And I think it is a role that will forever be linked, obviously, to James Earl Jones, even though he didn't physically embody the character.
Let me ask you this. So I think for the Obi-Wan show, they used his voice, but he didn't do it, if I'm correct. 'Cause I know he signed the rights over to Lucasfilm to his voice. Now that he's passed away, will we see James Earl Jones as Darth Vader moving forward? Because it's a character that you've pretty much wrapped up, but it's always kind of go back to the well territory with somebody like that. I mean, Hayden Christensen, I assume, will pop up at points, but how much will you see Darth Vader in the mask using James Earl Jones' voice basically via AI?
We've talked a lot. I'm not dodging the question. I want to give some background here. We've talked a lot about when it comes to legacy Star Wars characters, do you try to digitally recreate them or do you recast them? You know, do you go with the digitally recreated Mark Hamill that we saw in something like Book of Boba Fett? Yeah. Book of Boba Fett, which was really Mandalorian season 2.5, or
he's in season 3 too.
There you go. Or do you go with something like a recast and have a Sebastian Stan come in and play someone like a Luke Skywalker? And what we saw from the Solo project was that a lot of people don't want to see a recast legacy character, and they're much more, whether they say they like it or not, they can digest it much better with something like the digital recreation from a stand-in actor that we've seen in The Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett. So, with all that being said, with this just being a voice element, I feel like it is easier to alter to be able to have the best of both worlds of someone else supplying new lines and new commentary, but then being able to digitally alter it to where it still sounds like the same exact character. So that would be my answer of sort of the sweet spot of, do what you've got to do to make sure you generate the correct process when it comes to your deal with SAG-AFTRA, but also to where it still sounds like James Earl Jones's performance of Darth Vader. So that's what I would want as a fan either way. Jones also made notable appearances in Eddie Murphy's 1988 film Coming to America, and then starred opposite Kevin Costner in Field of Dreams in 1989. A few years later, he starred in the smash hit Disney animated feature The Lion King as Mufasa, a role that he also later reprised via voice. Along with appearances in The Sandlot, on House, and on The Simpsons, Jones and his voice was a prominent fixture in popular culture during all of our lives here. He passed away yesterday at the age of 93 years old. Tyler, are you a fan of The Lion King? Are you a fan of any other James Earl Jones work except for Star Wars? Anything else in his filmography that you associate maybe with a memory of yourself?
I like Coming to America, all right, but other than that, just Star Wars.
Yeah,
I was never a big Lion King guy.
I'm not sure if your substitute teachers in school played The Sandlot every single time that your teacher was sick, but that was a popular one for me. I don't know if that was a popular one for you, John.
It was. Just not being a baseball person, it's one of those from the beginning. It's like, okay, whatever. But eventually I was like, okay, I'll watch it. Okay, it's pretty funny. Okay, I can watch it.
Yeah, associated with multiple baseball movies there with Field of Dreams, and that speech, obviously iconic. You want to talk about iconic film speeches? James Earl Jones has had plenty of them. Famous lines. No, I am your father. A lot of people say it's Luke, I am your father, but it's actually no, I am your father. And it's just epic, his career, what he was able to give in film and on the stage, and for sure an icon of both mediums, and greatly missed by all those who are film fans.
And I think very underrated baseball movie as well. Speaking of The Sandlot, and plenty of baseball movies he was in. I pulled up episode 3 because I was like, I think that's 2005. I pulled it up. And he has 2 things where he played the role of Darth Vader voice role. Episode 3 and then The Benchwarmers, because he was the voice of, I don't know if you've ever seen that movie, but John Lovitz is like super rich, and he has James Earl Jones as Darth Vader as like his, like when you come to his front gate, it talks to you. And it's James Earl Jones actually did the voice as Darth Vader because he's like a super nerd and has all these like, cool trinkets and stuff from cool. Like nerd culture. But he actually came back and did it. I think it's actually very, very funny. It's John Heder and David Spade and John Lovitz. It's so but it actually has its funny moments. But he actually did that too. So he loves being in those baseball movies.
John, for a fact, there's a couple people that I nerd out over, and that would be Dr. Jeff, Dr. Brian, and Dr. Nolan. They're my dental team over there on Grants Mill Road at Alabama Dental Associates. They'll take care of you with the professional care that you'd expect, and they're extremely flexible with your schedule with late office hours Monday through Thursday, along with hours of availability on Friday and Saturday. You have Dr. Nolan officially joining the team now. It just got even better. You'll love the newest addition to the best dental team in town. Reach out and try Alabama Dental Associates for yourself. They have a wonderful staff, very friendly, and they all work together really well. They're accepting new patients now and can help you feel at ease about all of your upcoming dental procedures. For more information or to make an appointment, call them 205-956-8977. Or you can visit alabamadental.com, where they look forward to seeing you. A healthy debate, in my opinion, is a good thing. When topics can be fleshed out and opinions and viewpoints are allowed to flourish, then oftentimes we're able to push forward with more understanding of our own ideas. It's time now to find out which 5 debate pairings John would love to see on another edition of Luntz's List.
What is this? What is this? Luntz's List? Luntz's List? Oh. What is this? What is this? Luntz's List? Luntz's List? Oh. Luntz's List to 5. Luntz's List to 5. Luntz's List to 5. Luntz's List to 5.
Alrighty, John. I don't know how tough of an assignment this was for you, but I'm asking for you to give us the 5 pairings of non-politicians that you'd love to see share a debate stage. And please give us at least one topic that you'd love to see debated for each pairing. Was this a difficult list to come up with?
Yes, only because there's a lot of discussions I would like to see, and I think that's ultimately what this turned into, because I think a good debate can just become a good discussion. They don't now. We don't have good debates anymore, but and also debating is very much about kind of what you think the answer should be moving forward. What's happened is what's happened, and you can argue right and wrong and opinions based on what's happened, but a lot of it is, moving forward, because even in politics, it's, well, the two people running, what are you going to do that next election before you end up making your vote? So I think with most of this, it's like, who are people I know, who are people I respect, and I mean that in a good way, and various mediums, and what is a topic that comes up, and none of them are pressing topics necessarily, but what are topics that come up that may need a little discussion for the future, because the world is changing. We just talked about James Earl Jones being used via AI for Star Wars now. That's something that SAG-AFTRA has had a massive fight with, and has come up multiple times even this year with different movies. So there's a lot of things to be debated and really discussed more than anything. I just saw Russell's comment. I didn't do anything like personal. These are all like massive celebrities and stuff. But Melton and Spud on what constitutes literature is pretty funny.
I think we've already had that debate, and I think I won it in a landslide. But
nobody wants to disagree with Tim more than me, and I also have to say
Thank
Tim has won that debate, and Spud's my teammate, so that's probably not going to play well tomorrow. But you know what? Tomorrow I'm going to argue as much literature as he is, because I'm his teammate and I have to do so, and I just like arguing with Tim. So yes, Tim and I could be at the top of this list. Tim and Spud could be at the top of this list. Tim and Tyler could be at the top of this list, but they are not. These are all names we all know. I didn't want to necessarily. I thought, like, do I just want to go celebrities?
Could.
Do I want to, say, hey, I'll do a funny thing with Jim Dunaway, which I guess that counts as a celebrity, depending on who you ask. But, like, I just ended up going with pretty much massive celebrities and a couple of things that, like, they may have disagreements, therefore it could turn into a potential debate. I don't know.
Let's start off with number 5 on Luntz's list.
I don't really like this list. This is one of the ones that I'm not. No, I'm saying, like, I don't like what I came up with for the list. I'm not saying the topic. So y'all just.
I think that goes one and the same, though. If you
just
don't like your
treat it-
list,
No.
you probably don't like the
sometimes,
topic.
sometimes topics are great. It's just not my cup of tea, and I tried to think about it, and I came up with 5, and
Okay.
y'all treat me how
Watch
you want
this
to with
be
this.
the best list. This is what typically happens.
That-
What was
that's
the one where it was like, oh, guys, y'all aren't going to like this list? It was people playing WWE wrestlers or whatever. It was like,
Oh yeah, and it was just
And it was
perfect casting
banger
after perfect casting.
banger after banger. And it was like, John, you're just showing off. So I bet you he's doing that again here. A lot of expectations for number 5 to get this ball rolling. Or as I like to call it, number S. It's a bad joke. Guy
Fieri versus Gordon. Okay.
Come on, this would be great. Two very different celebrity chefs.
I'll be honest, I had 4, and then they started talking about Guy today on the show, and so I was like, because I don't even know what brought it up, but Brown was like, let's talk about Guy Fieri, and Jim's like, what? It's like, what do you? It's like, it's Fieri. It's like, it's spelled Fieri. It's like
Fieri.
It's like you say it Fieri, and it's like it became a whole debate. Anyway, I don't even know what the conversation was. He was talking about a guy dating somebody on some TV show, and like Guy's never like really acted. I mean, he's always just playing himself and things. And I think he was meaning Bobby Flay, which also could be a person to throw into an argument like this.
Triple threat debate.
But I think there is something with these two, because I'm very into cooking shows. Like, I mean, last night before poker, I caught up on MasterChef. Like, I watch everything Gordon does on Fox. I watch pretty much everything Guy does on Food Network. I think these are two very different people. From Gordon is a Michelin star chef who is like a legit one of the best chefs ever in the world, but has turned that into a TV career. Guy is a personality who has turned that into like a food and TV career. Guy is not going to compete on any of these cooking shows. Gordon could wipe the floor with anybody on these cooking shows, but they both host the cooking shows. So like, I'm starting to feel this with Gordon a little more than Guy, but like they're running out of ideas to make things fresh when it comes to food, TV. And then I also think you can have the same debate with restaurants, because when you go to Vegas, their names are on multiple restaurants in Vegas and New York and LA, that like, what is the future when it comes to food? And like Gordon had a whole thing where he went vegan for a little bit, and it's like, you're literally known for cooking meat. Like that's your biggest thing with steaks and all that, like, and being so good at like burgers and stuff like that. So like the way the world has shifted with food, I'm interested to see how they could debate that, how they could debate the future of TV when it comes to food. Food Network being one of the bigger Discovery channels there. I think it could be a good kind of conversation because they're coming at it from two very different angles.
See, I would love to see this movie, Guy versus Gordon. It'd be right up there with Freddy versus Jason and Alien versus Predator, and
I mean, I would probably like it a lot more than all
Kramer
those.
versus Kramer.
yeah, exactly. What a weird pull there from Tyler, but I mean, it works. That is good. Good stuff.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting him to go that route. Okay. For some reason, I wanted him to say Bride of Chucky, and that didn't make sense. It's not even a versus movie. Let's go with number 4 on Luntz's list. You'd go see Guy versus Gordon, right?
Yeah, I'd go see it. It's got to be, yeah, exactly what I was about to say, John. It's got to be better than Not Another Church movie. Snyder versus Kennedy.
So would that be
Zack Snyder and Kathleen Kennedy?
Kathleen Kennedy and Zack Snyder? Why?
The future of sci-fi, because both of them are going down terrible paths right now after being very, very good in their respective fields. Now, Kathleen Kennedy, way more hits than Zack Snyder has. But Zack Snyder right now is in a mindset of, I know what's right and y'all are all wrong with everything that he does. He tried to do Star Wars and they said, no, thank you. And he turned out garbage that is Rebel Moon, but it's done nothing but tout how it's the greatest thing ever to hit your TV because it didn't hit the big screen. Kathleen Kennedy, meanwhile, has maybe the greatest Hall of Fame career as a producer ever, and everybody hates her right now and wants to run out of town. So, hey, let's see which one of you is actually right, because right now you're both wrong. But that's typically how most presidential debates go anyway. So let's put them on stage. Let's have them talk about the future of science fiction, because a lot of ideas have already been used and things are also starting to get stale there. So what is the future, in your opinion, as two of the bigger names involved with it?
Meanwhile, John would be like, I'm not voting for either one of you. I'm voting for Denis Villeneuve. That's who I'm voting for.
Yeah, I was...
It's still a little low for J.J. Abrams.
I was thinking about
Denny
this,
decides not to run.
And then you said it looks like both of them are wrong. And I was like, well, that actually probably would be the best debate then, because you've got these two extreme paths that everybody hates.
They're both wrong in very different ways.
They're both wrong in completely different ways. Exactly. So I think it would be a good debate.
A few years ago, you could have gone with Snyder and Kevin Feige, and it would have been a pretty intense debate, because Snyder was sort of helming DC's vision, even though he was still looked at as a filmmaker within that. Well, okay, here we go. He's going to the board. That means we've activated some sort of term that we weren't supposed to here for number 3.
I think Feige was the secret word of the day.
Feige versus Gunn?
Oh, yeah, yep. What is this? How to build a film universe?
These two know
that's
each other
exactly what it is.
very
Wow.
well. Gunn worked for Feige.
He did, and they act like they're still best of friends. I don't necessarily think that's true, but the minute he signed with DC, he's like, oh, the first person I called was James Gunn was like, the first person I called after I signed my deal with DC was Kevin Feige, and then I called John Cena, and I was like, those aren't even remotely on the same wavelength. Now, I get Cena is somebody you've brought along from the old DCEU, but and then Feige's like, look, I'll be the first one in line to see anything that he does there. It's like, but there's no way that he's not still with Marvel. Like, there has to be a reason that he just completely moved on. I feel like there's a lot with Guardians, which is basically what he did with Marvel, that everything about that movie, from on screen, behind the screen, everything has kind of moved on. But basically how to build a cinematic universe, because DC failed miserably at it, and Marvel wrapped up a perfect one and now has failed miserably at it. So once again, both properties aren't doing it well now, where they have done things well in the past. Just from a DC and Marvel generic standpoint, DC has done plenty of things well, Marvel has done plenty of things well. But, how do you build a cinematic universe? What is the proper way? Because I am not buying into the DCU, but not a lot of people are buying into the MCU as a whole now, regardless of Deadpool being good and there still being some good movies in there. Overall, people are not buying into what the overall story is of the MCU. So, talk it out on stage. Maybe we'll figure it out for everybody.
Superhero cinema fatigue is still a thing. I think Deadpool and Wolverine, people think that it just magically has been washed away, that everybody's back into superhero cinema. And I would just say that was a fun side adventure, a fun party, a fun event for people to go to. But how many people that you personally know are looking forward to Captain America: Brave New World? Not a ton in my life.
Me.
What about y'all? I mean, of course you are. I mean, I'm sure
that's kind of it.
Laurel's going to, be there and she's going to be going to see it, but she's not pumped
super
up.
Excited for it.
There's not a lot of hype for it. And
But bottom line, the difference between this and Zack Snyder and Kathleen Kennedy is Zack Snyder and Kathleen Kennedy are both kind of sort of on the way out from a lot of different perspectives, both actually being on the way out and people wanting to push them out. Whether you like it or not, these two are doing everything for their respective universes. And now that's leaving Sony's stuff alone. But I'm talking MCU is Kevin Feige and DC is being handled for James Gunn.
right.
I know there's Joker, the Batman, and all that. I'm saying as far as like the main franchises.
I agree.
That they got to figure it out.
Yeah.
So talk it out. Let's have a nice, honest conversation and talk it out on stage in front of millions of people.
Who exits their post first, whether by promotion or by some sort of drama?
I mean, I would say if the DCU is at all successful, Kevin Feige, because he's just been doing it for so much longer, and James Gunn is just starting something.
Yeah.
But I'm not sold that the DCU will be anything because the DCU was so bad that I'd probably say Kevin Feige, because overall Kevin Feige is a hit maker and still okay.
Gunn has had the luxury of having some breathing room with projects that were already made before he stepped into the role or projects that were wrapping up when he stepped into the role. It really comes down to Superman, of whether or not
it does.
his DCU actually gets off the ground. And I know they unveiled the logo. I know you didn't really like the logo. You compared it to Captain America's shield, and that was about as far as your commentary went on things that you liked about it, which was just an MCU reference. I mean, you're clearly Marvel. I'm clearly DC. And then Tyler is sort of jumping between both worlds. I think leaning a little bit more DC than Marvel, if I had to put my finger on the pulse.
I've always been a bigger DC fan than Marvel fan, but I mean, I'm just disappointed with DC.
Sure, I am too.
Now, the best.
I do like the new DC Studios logo, and by the way, that's been around for way longer than Captain America's shield, John. They released that for the 75th anniversary.
I'm clearly trying to take a shot at DC, but like I think like the best single superhero in cinema is Batman, but like Batman right now has nothing to do with the DCU. He will
Until
factor
Glenn
in.
Powell gets the job.
Until The Brave and the Bold comes out.
Can you imagine the day that we're here and Tyler goes, I got news. Glenn Powell's been cast as Batman. What that conversation's going to be like?
You're not going to like it, Tim, but I'm going to be on John's side for that one. I don't want Glenn Powell playing Batman.
Glenn Powell would be a fantastic Batman.
No, I don't want to see it.
Okay. Number 2, Glenn Powell versus who?
Yeah, not Glenn Powell. I keep Glenn Powell.
Glenn Powell versus John Lunsford?
I try to keep him out of my mouth as much as possible. All right.
That's what she said.
Okay.
All right.
Let's please move on to number 2.
Take a break after that one. Okay, number 2.
Jay says just wait for Glenn Powell to play Batman and Superman at the same time. You know what? Probably would both be smash hits because that's what Glenn Powell does. He prints money. People can hate him all they want. All I ask is that you respect the game, John.
Goodell versus White.
Hey, you
so
know
I
what? I do
assume
respect Glenn Powell. That means I hate him.
Roger Goodell and Dana White.
Correct.
Yep.
I would
This
say
is a great choice.
Yeah, you made the wrestling list again, John.
I wouldn't go that level.
I'm
not going that level. He's not wrestling tier yet. But this is a great choice.
Dana White is, I mean, Roger Goodell is the leader of the biggest single league. I know you can talk Premier League and all that kind of stuff and soccer being bigger, but I'd say the NFL, at least here, is it. And he's in charge of that. He very much is super influential in how sports kind of moves. So a lot of people will follow what the NFL does before anything else. But the one who is not going to wait for anybody and is going to just do whatever he wants to, you could have thrown a Vince McMahon in this category before, but like now, definitely with Vince completely out of the picture, it's Dana White, since they're all especially the same company now. Dana White is, I'm going to do whatever I want, I don't care. And Goodell, I feel like, is a little more by the book, and the NFL is slower to adopt things like gambling. They're slower to adopt. It just seems like we had to be a little more by the book, and Dana White's like, I'm going to do whatever I want to, and it has very much worked for UFC. I've never watched Power Slap or whatever, but it seems like it's still a thing and going strong. So he is somebody That those two people, hey, debate the next evolution of sports, because I think Dana definitely has a path he thinks it would go down. I think Roger Goodell has a path he definitely thinks it would go down. They obviously want to protect their two brands more than anything, but what's next for those to keep both of those from getting stale? And I think UFC is way better at evolving and creating new things, but it's never going to meet like what the NFL is. So like that's why you kind of have a debate between it's kind of an old and new, even though it's really not, but it's kind of an older style versus a newer style.
No temptation to make it Goodell versus Portnoy instead? I do believe Dana White has more sway, obviously, in the future of running leagues and stuff. But
I feel like he'd be a better debater too.
Which one would be the more entertaining one to watch, though?
Here's the thing.
Still Dana White. Dana White's pretty entertaining.
I agree he's entertaining, but...
Did y'all find the last actual presidential debate to be entertaining? Or mind-numbingly frustrating? Because that's how I think it would be with Portnoy. I think he would start off trying to take some big swings, and then he would just start just talking trash instead to Goodell, and it would turn into... I don't even know what the hell I'm watching anymore.
I'm watching it on pay-per-view. I'll sign up for that.
Portnoy, I think, would get destroyed in that debate.
It'd be fun to watch all the swings being taken, though.
But it's swinging and missing nonstop.
I don't know. I'm just throwing it out.
He'll swing so hard that it's like a cartoon. He'll spin himself into the ground and fall over.
Those are two figures that literally cannot stand each other. I mean, just absolutely hate each other.
But that's why I don't think
personal.
It would actually be good. Like I don't think it would actually. I mean, yeah, you put boxing gloves on them, maybe I'm more willing to watch it. But we're not talking celebrity deathmatch here. We're talking debating.
Now I would buy a pay-per-view ticket for Goodell versus Dana White with Dave Portnoy opening up with some One Bite reviews.
Okay, we'll call that
we'll compromise
some sort of win. All right, let's get to number one. I assume you have no honorable mentions to get to.
No honorable mentions. Number one, I think was pretty easy.
Okay. These are non-politician-led debates between two participants.
He says it's an easy one. Is it as easy as we're thinking? Is it like Elon and Zuck? I'm seeing a Berg. It's the Zuck versus the Musk.
I mean, there is no other debate that needs to even exist in the world without this one taken first. And this also could turn into a boxing match at the end of it all, or karate or whatever. What were they going to do? Was it boxing?
It was something at the Coliseum at one point was a suggestion.
I mean, it was a fight of some sort. I can't remember if it was karate, if it was boxing, if it was wrestling. I don't know.
Or was it judo? Aren't they both into judo or something?
That is what they used to train. I just can't remember what the actual fight was going to be, if it was going to be a boxing match or not.
I don't remember. Somebody help us in the comments.
By the way, Mark Zuckerberg would, in 5 seconds, put Elon Musk on the ground. Because I think he's actually like a really, really good fighter.
Yeah, Zuck's actually in pretty decent shape.
Now, if they just debated, just use their words, it would, I think, be overall potentially a good discussion. Now, this would be a discussion that could not keep politics out of it. I know we're trying to get away from politics, and this is a discussion that would not keep politics out of it.
It's not about keeping politics out. It's about it being non-politician figures, and these are non-politicians.
They are. But, the future of tech, the future of artificial intelligence, obviously both are, you can tell both know they have to use AI to stay with it, but are a little more hesitant to, I feel like. Like, every time you open up a topic on X Twitter now, like, it says, by the way, we pulled all this from AI, I may be wrong, like every single time, and it's like, okay, I got it. Like, I just opened up, the first thing that came up was about Jared Leto being offered Skeletor in Masters of the Universe.
Wait, that's not true, is it?
It is true.
Oh.
But I don't know. Grok can make mistakes, verify its outputs. Every single time it's like, this may be completely wrong. We don't really know. And it's the same with Facebook. And I realized YouTube is doing it now too. I never saw it. People were talking about it in the Next Round chat, but I came in late on one of the morning shows yesterday, and I opened it up, and there was a chat summary of what everybody had been talking about. It's like, according to the chat, people are very disappointed in Auburn's performance this past weekend. It's like, oh, no kidding. And Boomer did say it before he started the list, it has to be Zuckerberg versus Musk, and that is definitely the easy answer. But everything I've discussed when it comes to food, when it comes to movies, when it comes to sports, all have to do with the future of technology and the future of AI. And do
you think Zuckerberg would be able to go off script and actually have a human conversation with Elon Musk?
No.
Yeah, I think
Because he's not human, Tim.
I know he's a lizard or whatever.
Yeah, he's a lizard person.
But I think if it's that kind of discussion, yes, being on Capitol Hill, really for either one of them. I don't know that Musk has ever testified in Washington or not. If he hasn't, I'm sure it will come at some point. But like, that's a little different format. I know that's the one thing people have really seen of Mark Zuckerberg, which when he was on Capitol Hill. But like, I feel like if it's just the two of them talking, and it's not even really with a moderator. I mean, with a debate, you typically have a moderator, but if it's just a discussion between those two, I would be fascinated to see if they would just actually stop and talk to each other and not start yelling, because I think it would turn to yelling pretty quickly. But these are the two minds, period, that like you could throw Bill Gates in there, but these are pretty much the two minds that you want talking about this stuff. And have you seen the commercial for what Oprah's doing?
No.
Oprah's holding some kind of panel. Bill Gates is the only one I remember from it, but it's like it's not Elon Musk or Mark Zuckerberg, because those are two. I feel like if it's something like that, you don't necessarily want to touch. It's Bill Gates and a few other like tech people, and she's doing a whole thing on AI. It's not really Oprah's game. Like there's a lot of things Oprah does, and you're like, that's must-watch TV. This doesn't really seem like her kind of game, but it is kind of interesting to hear what people like Bill Gates would say about artificial intelligence. But even him being like the godfather of all technology and everything, you still want to hear Zuckerberg and Musk before you hear Bill Gates.
If Zuckerberg and Musk do decide to do a fight, then they're going to have to do a weigh-in. And in order to do a weigh-in, they need to go visit our friends at Way to Wellness.
They can go to aplanforme.com and find a plan that will work for them, just like Tim has a plan right there that works for him. I have a plan that works for me. Even Jim Dunaway has a plan that works for him, and my dad even has a plan that works for him. Go visit aplanforme.com. Learn more about Leslie and our whole board-certified team. You see Leslie in the background there. Look how nice they are with Tim, handing him the papers, taking his blood pressure. Mm-hmm. They're always so nice with us when we go in. Go to aplanforme.com. Learn more about our friends with Way to Wellness.
All right. If you were to Frankenstein this list, Tyler, and you were to take one person from one of the choices and one person from the other choices, who would you put together in a debate?
I mean, I guess the only ones that would make sense to really swap would be having like Snyder versus Gunn and Feige versus Kennedy.
I thought Feige versus Kennedy at first, but then
that's already real life.
That's already a little real life. That's two Disney people going at it.
I think Gordon Ramsay has to be included, and I don't care who he's fighting.
Well, the first thing that came to mind, honestly, was Gordon Ramsay versus Dana White.
Oh, that would be fun. Yeah.
Or what about Gordon Ramsay versus Kathleen Kennedy? Him whipping her back into shape to get Star Wars back on track.
The Acolyte was rubbish. Anyway. All right, that's going to do it for Luntz's list. It is now time for us to officially get to the moment that I dread the most on the show, the Meltdown Draft. I'm going to try to win over hearts again. I've done it a couple of times, and I'm really facing an uphill battle this time because I probably consume the least amount of American cartoons, especially American cartoons made for adults. And I'm going to try my hardest to compete against two people who definitely do know exactly what they're talking about in John Lunsford and in Tyler Johns. And this should be a very epic battle for sure. I am going to determine the draft order here. We're going to go 6 rounds on this. We're going to go 6 rounds. And I am going to get our random sequence here, see who goes in what position. 3 of us drafting. First will be John Lunsford. Second will be Tyler Johns. Third will be Tim Melton.
No snake picks for me.
No snake picks, but you don't have to wait as long in between picks. You don't have the drought. So
that's
you got that
true.
plus 2.
That is true.
All right, so the way this works is they have to be American cartoons, and they have to be animated in style. I say cartoons. What was the official thing? What did I say?
I think you just said cartoons.
Animated series, I believe. Was that
Okay.
it? Let me see.
Animated series or cartoon series. This is not movies. Which, by the way, Scott Forster told me his favorite animated movie of all time, WALL-E. So I'm glad we have that in common.
So we'll be drafting the best American cartoon series of all time. That is where we're at. And this should be a fun one. You guys in the live chat get a chance to vote on who the winner is. Please hold your votes until the end where we will make our case for why our list is the best. John, where are you going with number 1? I think we all know.
I mean, I think we do, but
I
I
think we
think
all
he might have like I think you might have also cited your sources and gone with the technically correct answer.
Oh.
You know what I mean, Tim? You see where I'm
I
going?
get what you're saying. Okay, let's see. Hold on, let's just
I don't
say.
think anybody's favorite franchise is actually Mario. I mean, but that's obviously the number one choice when you put that on there. So
Okay, well, I'll tell you, nobody's just Fortnite and Minecraft and all those other.
Yeah, Tim, are you
I
gonna
made.
follow that up this week by picking like Coco Melon and Paw Patrol?
Let me mark those off my list. Hold on. All right, John with the first overall pick.
Yep, I told you he cited his sources.
Wow, I
told you, Tim.
I'm actually surprised.
you think I was gonna go Family Guy?
Of course, I
Yes.
thought you were going to go Family
You think
Guy.
anybody else is gonna go? Anybody in the world is gonna pick Family Guy number 1?
I think
I
it
wouldn't
would
be
be
shocked.
a round 1 draft pick
I
for
wouldn't
sure.
be shocked. I'm just shocked. Tell us why you definitely went with The Simpsons as the overall
It is
greatest.
the longest running. It's the longest running show. Period, isn't it? I
Well,
mean, since the 89, 90, something like that. I mean, it's the longest running show. Definitely longest running animated show. It's been on for 35 years or whatever.
Does that make it the best? Longest running and best, I think, are.
I feel like those are pretty synonymous, and it is something that was very much one of the big pickups with Disney buying Fox. They literally dedicated a whole, channel to it on Disney Plus. I mean, it's a show that has stood the test of time. It's still going strong right now. There's rides for it at Universal. There will probably be stuff for it eventually at Disney once that all goes away because they're fixing to switch that out. I mean, it's by far the best cartoon, and I ask everybody up here, outside of the two of y'all, what's the best cartoon of all time? And every single one of them, without hesitation, said The Simpsons. So,
All right. So The Simpsons is the overall number 1 draft pick from John Lunsford. Where are we going, Tyler, with the second overall draft pick?
I will be going with a certified classic. It's undeniably a classic. I would argue that this series is what a lot of people would immediately go to when you say the words Saturday morning cartoons. Looney Tunes.
Okay. Looney Tunes there in the top spot.
TUNES.
NES, yes.
Yeah.
So Looney Tunes and the top spot there for Tyler, and a very strong choice. I think Brian Pavlik probably would really love the choice there of Looney Tunes. What do you make of the criticism that Looney Tunes have sort of fallen off the face of the earth over the past 20 years?
I would argue that that's mismanagement from Warner Brothers. They
what had been mismanaged? The Simpsons.
Well, you could still argue that Simpsons fallen off pretty hard.
Yeah, but they didn't do a Space Jam 2. I mean,
Yeah.
they just called it a day with their first movie.
Okay. Anything else on Looney Tunes before we move on here?
Just a little clarification. Do I get everything in the Looney Tunes franchise? Like, say if you list a cartoon that has had like spin-offs and sequel cartoons and series, what would you guys say to that? Because there's been multiple Looney Tunes series, from the original Merry Melodies to Tiny Toons Adventures to the
I
Looney
would say
Tunes
you
show
get
on
pretty
Cartoon
much
Network.
everything with the
Yeah,
Looney
you
Tunes.
get a umbrella package there,
All right.
but we have discretion to debate in the future. That's all I would say. We're not writing you a blank check,
Gotcha.
but that's where we'll sort of leave it right now. All right.
Fair enough.
This is where things get interesting here, because there's a animated property that I think has a very strong fan base, that has been culturally relevant for a long time, that still has some of the most biting commentary that exists on television. I'm going with South Park.
That was
As
my second
That's
pick.
a
my
good
choice.
Pick. That's a good pick.
I thought it was an obvious pick here in the first round, and I'm glad that I was able to secure it. But South Park is what I would start with.
I mean, if this was a list of adult animation, South Park would be my number 1 draft pick. That one is my favorite. But I wanted to honor the history a little bit.
Sure.
South Park's not a bad pick at all.
I'm concerned that I'm going to fall into some sort of trap like I did because I started off with Grand Theft Auto, and I'm not going Fortnite now. That's not what I'm going.
Go ahead and put Paw Patrol there, John.
No, I'm not going Fortnite.
He's gonna, he knows what the kids like.
I'm concerned I'm going to fall into some sort of trap here and pick something that isn't nearly as appreciated as I think it is, just based on the amount of worldwide attention it gets. So when we're looking at best cartoons, American cartoons of all time, I feel very strongly that if I can get this, it's a good 1-2 punch, and I'm going to go with Family Guy. Family Guy there in round number 2 with my first pick in round number 2. I mean, did I just fall into a massive trap? Because I feel like Family Guy is a show that is quoted by almost everybody I know. So, and I feel like it kind of overtook The Simpsons in terms of my friend circle quoting it.
Oh, it was
Me.
The Simpsons was never.
Anybody
in
else
my
in your friend group
circle.
quote Family Guy other than me?
Yeah. Okay.
Exactly.
All right, so back to me.
Yes, Tyler. It's on
Alrighty.
you now.
Next up, continuing to honor the classics, we're going with a series that has had multiple different iterations. That's why I wanted that clarification earlier. And that is Scooby-Doo. From the original Scooby-Doo, Where Are You?, all the way to Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated. Velma doesn't count as part of it because the title is not Scooby-Doo.
Yeah.
But it has spanned multiple generations, and you cannot deny the success it's had
I don't think
and
anybody's
its
picking
beloved
Velma. You're okay.
audience.
I think it's one of the better repetitive narrative animated series of all times in terms of it kind of has the same formula that it delivers in its essence of what is Scooby-Doo every single time, and generations have absolutely loved it, and there hasn't really been a fall off too much in popularity, and it's about to be resurged again probably in live action.
Yeah,
so.
Anytime Warner Brothers says, hang on, we need some cash, they go right to Scooby-Doo because it's a guaranteed hit.
John, EG is very much a fan of the Scooby-Doo pick. What are you going with here as your first pick of the second round?
Did they eat at a lot of Mexican restaurants in Scooby-Doo? Sorry.
I don't think so, actually. They are eating a bunch of Scooby snacks.
A lot of sandwich shops in Scooby-Doo.
Let's see. I honestly thought Family Guy was going to slip to like the third round or something like that because y'all all hate Family Guy.
I
don't hate Family Guy. I quote it all the time.
I respect Family Guy, and I think that it's talked about in every room I enter. And
Because I'm in every room you enter.
Every time Tim mentions the name of a movie or like quotes the name of the movie and what he's talking about,
I'm the one that says the Family Guy.
He
John,
said
it's
it.
John.
Anybody else pull up a
John.
Family Guy clip every 5 seconds?
John, you had a chance to pick Family Guy. If you're upset I picked Family Guy, you
Family
had an
Guy
option
is
to
not
pick
number
Family
one.
Guy.
It is my personal favorite. It is not number one.
Okay, well, I'm sorry that I played the game. I just, if it's such a good list that I have here, that's fine, but don't yell at me, okay? Okay, I'll compose myself.
Sorry, Raul. Got to see you cry. So
I feel like I've damaged his list.
no, I have so many to choose from. I'm just trying to make the right choice.
That's where it gets tough. This is a very broad category where you can interpret it, this draft can be done with different participants, and none of these could be possibly taken off the board just because it is a wide array of content.
Yeah, when you sent the draft topic over, I asked, are we including adult animation?
Yep.
And you said yes. And obviously we are because I'm the only one who hasn't gone with adult animation yet.
That is true. You are definitely,
I think I'm gonna get away from adult animation here.
okay?
Alrighty. Better not take my next pick. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I can't see what's
It's
happening.
SpongeBob.
SpongeBob SquarePants.
Yeah, that was.
I mean,
that
you want
was-
to talk about something culturally relevant? I mean, right there, SpongeBob SquarePants for sure.
Man, it's been huge for 20 years, 25 years or so.
Fell off.
I remember even
Fell off.
fell off.
Well,
Yeah, it fell
I
off.
mean,
Well, I mean, it's
I'll
because
be honest. I think you could say that about pretty much every show up here right now. But because does anybody watch new Looney Tunes? Does that even still exist anymore? I mean, South Park isn't as good as it used to be. Family Guy's not as good as it used to be. The
South
Simpsons
Park
isn't
is-
as good as it used
South
to be.
Park's still
just
going
as
strong.
biting as it used to be when it comes to stirring the pot for
Their
sure.
specials are okay, but the actual seasons, they're not as good as it used to be.
No, I'm just trying
Look.
to down your pick as much as possible because
Well, I
I'm
know
a
this-
massive
So am I.
SpongeBob fan.
The
So,
Ryan
Scooby-Doo
Brown
hadn't been good for 60 years. I don't know what y'all talking about.
The Ryan Brown household does not watch SpongeBob SquarePants. We learned this the other day on the next round because yeah, he said it's because the language was too foul, but he said that was really just an excuse because it drives him crazy and he doesn't want to watch it in the house.
All right, I need to make a PSA real quick.
Okay.
Parents, do not prohibit your kids from watching SpongeBob. You are just absolutely hurting them socially
Especially
for
the
the
early
rest
years.
of their lives.
Especially the
I
early
promise.
years.
You do not want to be that kid in class that isn't allowed to watch SpongeBob.
There's one
PSA over.
I'm hoping I can pick up next round,
Okay,
which is why I'm thinking so hard about this. SpongeBob was going to be one of my two picks. But there's one, I don't know if it's big outside this room.
okay.
I'm gonna start playing my game instead because y'all yelled at me about Family Guy.
I don't know what to say.
We didn't yell
We
at
didn't
him.
yell. He was the one doing the yelling at me.
Oh, Rick and Morty.
How dare you-
I saw you drafting that
How dare
one,
you
John.
pick Family Guy? It's such an amazing show, and you picked it for your list. Oh my gosh. Rick and Morty at number 3, or sorry, in the third round, first pick of the third round, and a very solid choice. I love Pickle Rick, obviously. So, you know.
Now, if we want to talk about shows falling off, this is the
Part of
one.
that is the creators.
Well,
right?
yeah,
I mean,
there's
The guy who does the
Got
voice of
canceled,
both
right?
Rick and Morty got canceled. So
so you're going
I
with
don't hate the new voice guys,
Yeah.
but I mean those first 3-4 seasons
Yeah.
is some of the best animation ever created in the history of mankind.
Okay. All right, Tyler, where are we going next on your board here?
going with a little bit of a newer classic. And when I say new, I don't mean new. I just mean like newer than the 60s. Rick and Morty is not a classic. Sorry, John. We are going with this right here. Batman, the animated series. One of the greatest renditions of Batman ever. Kevin Conroy, rest in peace. Greatest Batman voice. Mark Hamill, greatest Joker voice. The animation style and character designs are iconic from Bruce Timm. It's the greatest superhero show, or greatest superhero cartoon at least, ever made.
Yeah, so obviously I love Batman the Animated Series. It is fantastic. I do believe it is the best superhero show ever made. I do believe that you are targeting the children of America in a way that if all of them are voting, if you're looking for the Raoul age demographic, you're dominating right now.
It's weird because
Tyler.
they didn't even exist, so you're not gonna get a vote there.
That's not true.
And that's
Raoul is very real. I love Batman the Animated Series. Batman Caped Crusader just released in an effort to try to sort of rejuvenate that sort of feeling and style around that. But it is a wonderful series for sure, and one that definitely formed me as a human being. So great choice there. John, did you ever get into Batman the Animated Series?
I did not, but I did have it on my list, so I will take it off. Not my thing.
So next, I'm going with Futurama. In my choice, Tyler, is that a good choice, bad choice? Is that I think Futurama is a show that has a lot of diehard fans that really love it.
It definitely does, so much that it's been brought back like 3 times.
I prefer to say so good it's been canceled multiple times.
Well, I've never really delved deep into Futurama. I've only caught an episode here or there,
I like it all right.
but I like it all right, yeah.
All right. And then next I'm going with, in my number 4 spot, King of the Hill. King of the Hill in the number 4 spot.
Dang. You are only listing adult animation here.
Well, I
don't
feel
I don't think
confident.
like it's a bad strategy for you. You're picking up the big names.
And you know, you've got the younger vote. I've got the more mature vote here, and you know, who knows? Maybe John will find that sweet middle.
Alrighty. What am I gonna go with next?
These are the shows, by the way, that I'm drafting that I feel like get quoted the absolute most around me. And yes, John Lunsford is responsible for 95% of Family Guy, which is why he's broken that he didn't get it.
I
But-
feel like I do a decent amount of King of the Hill.
My brother loves Futurama. My
Okay, I'm Futurama.
brother-in-law loves King of the Hill. My cousin loves South Park. I mean, I'm going with like just the diehard admiration here that I'm experiencing through them for my draft picks, and they happen to be there.
I'm looking on my list. I'm thinking here. Do I want to go adult animation, or do I want to save that show? I think I'll hold off. I am gonna go with a modern day classic. This is an epic story. It is the first series
Everything he's picked has been a new classic, a modern day classic.
Yeah, because my list is good. This is the first series that I ever watched from beginning to end, following the story the whole way through. It is Avatar: The Last Airbender. It is
That's on my short list. But
extremely critically acclaimed. It's able to take these complex issues and explain them to 5 to 7 year olds.
You know what killed
And-
the momentum, though? It's the adaptation that failed at the box office, right?
see, I kind of liked it.
Well, I'm
not saying
you
that-
say that, but the show was going strong. And
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, I'm just saying, I'm not talking even if we can just like not talk draft for a second. I'm just talking about there were a lot of fans I know that were very upset with how poorly that was
yeah.
adapted.
Yes.
And it's M. Night, right?
Yeah,
Behind
it
that?
was
And-
M. Night in collaboration with Nickelodeon Studios,
Yeah.
and they thought that god-awful CGI and changing the names of all the characters for some reason would be a good idea.
Yeah.
And it was not.
All right, we are moving on to Lunsford there in the 4 spot.
Small Fast and SpongeBob's the only Nickelodeon contribution. Avatar is Nickelodeon, so.
Yep.
Jace, I can't go Dragon Ball Z because this is American cartoons.
Yep.
I feel like
Avatar-
Tim had to put that distinction in there just for me. But
Well, I wanted to keep it, what's the word I'm looking for? I wanted to keep it in a zone
Familiar.
where, familiar. Gosh, there's some word that starts with an R that I can't. I wanted people to be able to relate to a lot of the content.
relatable, okay.
Yeah, relatable. I wanted it to be
I want
relatable.
people to resonate with everyone's list.
That's true as well.
And although Avatar, I guess, largely takes place in Asian culture, it is an American cartoon. Somebody
Yeah.
asked
Yep.
that in the chat.
So John is
Not
looking.
that I want to defend Tyler's list, but
John's looking for his next 2 picks here, and he's going to be very calculated about where he goes next. Running out of real estate to sort of land this plane with only 6 picks apiece, so you're gonna have to. I feel like these last choices are just as important as what you start off the list with. I mean, it really is about how
depending
consistent your draft is.
on if I want to take the L and just put my favorite cartoons up here, or if I want to try to play to the crowd.
Can you play to the crowd with what you have remaining on your draft board, do you think?
Yeah.
Or do you want to just basically wave the John Lunsford banner in the sky? You're debating between those 2 right now.
Correct.
Okay. Let us know which one you choose. All right. John is going to the board next. This is what I see on poker nights on Monday, whether he should call or fold. Same sort of
I should have
look.
called last night.
You should have called a lot last night.
My King's Fold had some bases behind it, didn't it?
Oh, yeah, it did. You got bluffed off your seat, but it definitely...
There's 1,000 things that...
Thousand things could have beat you, but that's why the bet was made the way it was made.
Oh, I know. I'm not saying it was a bad play by him. I don't think it's a bad play by me either.
Yeah. It didn't matter how that played out. It would have been an excellent play from either one of you.
Yes.
Jay says you're stalling with poker talk, John.
It has been a hot minute. I don't want to say that shows a lack of confidence in your decision making, but it has been a while.
I'm not saying he's trying to stall. Jay said he's trying to stall. I'm just calling attention
I just
to
feel
it.
like stalling kind of hurts you in your argument.
Oh, it absolutely does. Oh, we're getting a John choice. Adventure Time. I never really liked Adventure Time. I remember when that got launched along with like a regular show. And Doug.
Adventure Time and Doug.
Two of the greatest cartoons ever created, in my opinion. Adventure Time and Doug both work well for kids and adults.
Yeah.
And neither one of these have been mentioned once in the chat. So these are definitely my choices, but Doug was incredible back in the day. The Doug movie came out in 1999 and lost a little bit of its luster when it went to ABC when they picked it up to put it on Saturday morning.
Yeah.
But on Nick back in the day, it was incredible. And I think Adventure Time, it's goofy, but I think it's one of the smartest kids' cartoons ever written.
Was Doug a Nick show? I thought it was Disney.
It was Nick, and then it moved to ABC. Disney got it.
Gotcha.
I don't remember when exactly that happened, but it was on Nickelodeon at first.
Alrighty then.
All right. Tyler, you're up next. Where are we headed?
This is the steal of the draft. 5th round. I can't believe this one's just been chilling for so long. Another instant mental go-to when you think Saturday morning cartoons.
Yeah.
Tom and Jerry.
Okay. You're definitely playing the classics, and that is a shock given that, you know, you're of the generation that you're of, and you're definitely going back to yesteryear, and I respect that very much.
Get that word out of here. I grew up on the classics. The Boomerang channel was one of my favorites.
You know, Tom and Jerry never really did it for me. I mean, I know it's a classic, but like, it never really did it for me.
No, I love the mindless slapstick comedy.
I got that with Coyote and Wile E. Coyote and Roadrunner.
Well, I got that too.
I have both these written down, and they're exactly what I want, but it's much like Lunsford, I got to make sure that I'm not overlooking anything, because I think I got it.
Your first kids cartoon of the draft or still adult?
Let me ask, is Robot Chicken eligible for this list?
I am going to say no.
It's stop motion
It's
animation, but it's not technically a cartoon.
It's stop motion. There's a lot of claymation.
I'm just
in
asking.
That's. I would allow it, honestly.
Only because you told me the list was the best American cartoon series of all time. I'm saying it's not allowed.
Okay. Look, I'll go by that. That's fine. I'm not trying
it is
to.
done in live action, even though there is some animation to it.
Okay. My argument was I would put it in the same category as like Nightmare Before Christmas or Coraline. And are we not going to call those animated
What was the
movies?
name of the network it originated on?
Cartoon Network. It was on Adult Swim.
It was on Adult Swim.
Oh, okay. Well,
But that's the.
Adult Swim does show live action shows.
look, I
So
won't.
I'm not going to say it's Cartoon
I
Network.
don't.
I'm going to say it's
I
Adult
don't
Swim.
want a asterisk
night.
next to my list. Okay, so I'll take it off the board. I apologize. Thank you for talking it out.
Children's
with me.
Hospital is great too on Cartoon Network, but it's not a cartoon.
Okay.
Children's Hospital was good.
This is what I'm going with.
Best Henry Winkler stuff. I'll probably throw that on the list.
I loved this. It disturbed me as a child growing up, but it also helped form me. I think it is a stronger choice than Doug is, and it's of the same vein. Rocco's Modern Life is my next pick, followed by... I'm going to have to play some classics here. And I feel like I got the ultimate classic cartoon series that I'm going with next. I think this is potentially the steal of the draft. I'm going with Schoolhouse Rock to end this list. educational, informative, some bangers and some songs. Definitely more of a classic, but one that whenever I hear Rocky impersonating Louis the Lightning Bug, I absolutely find myself entertained and riveted and find it to be hilarious. I'm going with Schoolhouse Rock to end this out.
This might be the real generational difference between our lists because I'd never watched Schoolhouse Rock.
Junction, what's your function?
I had to watch it in school. That's all really long.
I never watched it in school
Best part
either.
of school. I'm just a bill.
Anytime that TV came on was the best part of school.
Also, Landmine Believer, Cowboy Bebop would absolutely make my list if Tim did not specify American cartoons.
It is not eligible.
Absolute masterpiece, though.
By the way, Landmine
Buried the
Believer, I'm
Toonami
right
block.
there with you with the preamble. That's exactly how I memorized it as well through Schoolhouse Rock. All right, so I finished out my list. I'm the first one to finish out my list. Where are you going, Tyler?
Hang on. Boomer has a point here that might actually combine two of my picks. He says that Tom and Jerry was in the original Merry Melodies.
Okay. You can have Merry Melodies. I don't.
Well, I'm saying that's a
But
that's
that's
a
Looney
that's a
Tunes
Looney
and-
Tunes thing. So if I've got Looney Tunes, then by extension I would have Tom and Jerry. I didn't know they were the same thing though.
Now, I'm going to say, only because we skipped past it, that we leave it as it is so he doesn't get another free pick.
Well, the other thing is, you drafted Tom and Jerry. Nobody forced you to draft Tom and Jerry. If you thought it was a part of Looney Tunes, maybe do that before we get around to this point. I mean, I feel like once the next play is run, any challenges are done. Am I right?
No, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I was just
Because you
bringing it
basically
up.
get two picks right here. So
Yeah.
I just saw it, so I couldn't bring it up before now. So
unless you want to erase Tom and Jerry, count it with Looney Tunes, and you still only get one more pick.
oh come on, Tim's camera just completely just decided to leave the building.
Hey, everybody.
Goodbye, camera. It's been
All
good
right.
knowing you. I look like I'm doing something very wrong there while the camera's blurred that way. Okay.
Unnecessary
I'm
censorship.
going to act that out.
All right, what am I gonna go with here? I can go with another classic. You know what? I'm gonna go with one of my favorite adult animation shows ever. It hasn't gotten mentioned once today.
The Cleveland Show.
What?
The Cleveland Show.
No, not the Cleveland Show. It hasn't been mentioned once today, or I think ever on the Meltdown. It's got the energy of South Park, the comedy of Friday, the talent of Friday, including John Witherspoon
Boondocks.
and Regina King. It's the Boondocks.
I like the Boondocks.
By the way, I have mentioned this on the Meltdown before, and you were like, whoa, good pull, Tim. But I wouldn't know what episode to pull that from to show you. But I have mentioned it once.
Well, all right then. I don't recall you ever mentioning
like-
Boondocks.
I did.
Boondocks is one of those random picks that nobody would have thought about. But it's like 6th round, yeah, I'll throw the Boondocks.
It's the high art pick.
I love the Boondocks. I think it's
Did
absolutely
it originate
one
on
of
Adult Swim or did it come from somewhere else?
originated on Adult Swim, I believe.
That's where I watched it.
Yeah, it's just fantastic. It is endlessly funny, endlessly witty. It just doesn't get old either.
So the thing is, I think any pick I can give you off my list is a steal to be the very last pick. Here's what's left on my list since there's no more picks coming up.
Okay.
Bob's Burgers, which has been running for a pretty long time.
I considered it.
Courage the Cowardly Dog. I feel like we brought up on the show multiple times and had nobody's mentioned. The Flintstones, nobody has mentioned. I can't believe that hasn't been mentioned. Hey Arnold,
Go with the Jetsons.
the Jetsons, Rugrats. No, we did say Tom and Jerry. I forgot to erase that.
Yeah, Tom and Jerry can't be picked a third time.
Samurai Jack.
It was on my list.
Samurai Jack.
I
is
debated
very, very,
that
very
with,
good. That may be
going
my
sixth
final
round.
pick. Dexter's Lab. Anybody watch Dexter's Lab back in the day? Powerpuff Girls as well.
That's my laboratory.
And nobody mentioned something like the Clone Wars either.
So
which Clone Wars?
Are you doing this thing where you name 50 and then just pick one
No,
so
I'm
you
just
get
saying
credit
all
for the
the
50?
ones we didn't that are on my list that nobody ever picked.
Yeah,
That
the draft does have to end at some point.
Yeah, but I'll
mean,
defend John here. There's a lot of times where people in the chat will be like, "You didn't mention this. You didn't mention this. You guys don't like this."
No.
Like, I think it's a good idea to clear out the ones we do like.
But before making your last pick or after the draft is over, because
doesn't matter.
Now you're making a good point, Tim.
I mean, I'm fine with that after the draft is over. We can talk about all the ones.
It hurts saying all the ones I had on my list, and I didn't go with something everybody in the chat thought I should have gone with.
So
I gave up 3 picks ago, but like
I feel like you're getting the sentimentality of all of those picks without actually picking anything yet.
I mean,
it's kind of smart.
You can talk however you want to. I
I'm
guess
just telling you the truth. That's the way you're playing.
Supposed to explain. I'm explaining why I didn't pick all these other ones.
What are you picking?
I'm gonna pick between Courage and Samurai Jack as a personal pick. There, I'm probably gonna go Samurai Jack because I love Samurai Jack. If you watch Samurai Jack with the animation, which by the way, it's the same guy that did Dexter's Lab, there are no lines in Samurai Jack. It's maybe the best drawn TV series cartoon of all time.
All right, now I wouldn't go that far, but American cartoon, yeah, I think he's got a solid case. Okay, all right, fair enough.
There's all kind of
don't disrespect my boy.
I know,
Mira like that.
I almost took American Dad, but I felt it was too similar to my Family Guy pick, so I stuck with that being sort of the Seth MacFarlane wing. Needed to be had there as
then
part
you
of
could
my
have taken
list.
the Cleveland show.
Okay, we are now going to get to our 3 lists. It is time to put the numbers up next to the names and for John to announce his picks here in just a few moments. We are going to ask that you rank these based on the numbers that are there. So John will be team 1, Tyler will be team 2, I will be team 3. And you can go ahead and give us your rankings while we make our final pitches. John, what is your final pitch for why your list should be the winner of the animation draft?
Because I got a nice nostalgia hit out of it. On to Tyler.
Okay.
Here's why. I've got a good mix of history and just what I like. Some of you might say, how is this, 15-year-old here picking Looney Tunes and Scooby-Doo and the things that I grew up with and my parents grew up with? Well, it's because of the Boomerang channel, and you learn that these old cartoons are the best. And then you follow it up with Batman, the animated series. Who doesn't love that artwork? I know I do. I've got it on my shirt right now. Followed that up with Avatar. It's an epic story, and I don't mean epic as in it's so great, even though it is, but it is an epic in the same way The Odyssey is, and it's made for children, and adults still love it. Tom and Jerry, back to that classic cartoon nostalgia, and then finished it up with a personal pick, loaded with talent, loaded with wit, The Boondocks. Also, greatest intro song out of any of these on the list.
It is very good.
All right. Tyler, you definitely have a very diverse list for sure there in the number 2 spot. But I went with the heavy hitters. I was looking for those that could land a haymaker and absolutely knock out the opponents. And that seems to be the way that things are trending here in the votes. South Park as my number 1 overall pick, still strong. If we're going with the nostalgia play, it has that. If we're going with the cultural significance play, it has that. If we're going for the biting commentary, the art design, the characters meaning things to people, South Park pretty much has it all, and I think is a no-brainer to start off this list. Family Guy, I mean, I am literally around the biggest Family Guy fan in the world every single day. I think that's the way I've consumed the most amount of Family Guy, and I appreciate him showing me the light here of why Family Guy is a top-tier pick. Futurama, King of the Hill, Rocko's Modern Life, they're all eccentric in their different ways, but they all have those diehard fan bases that really sort of consume those shows like comfort food for sure, and 3 maybe very different fan bases there, but all that are very passionate. And I wanted to close it out by showing some respect to those cartoons that I consider to be legacy cartoons. Schoolhouse Rock has made an impact on generations of Americans learning all sorts of things. The songs are catchy. The characters are catchy. It has definitely a vibe to it that is very distinct, and I think is the cherry on top of the sundae in which I have built here for team number 3. So I appreciate your support if you decide to go my way, and if not, I understand that as well. But I feel like I do definitely have the strongest list here of the 3. Any other final words from anybody?
I'm just glad other people, I guess, watch Family Guy out there.
Yes.
Even though it's not good enough to actually start this year. They're waiting until spring to start it.
They are.
For some reason.
They are. But, I think it's ever since they announced Glenn Powell is going to be on the Halloween episode, I think that it has restirred a lot of interest in that. So there's the list. We will keep that
canceled this year.
No. We'll keep it there for you to take a look at and just place your votes. If you are, once again, not watching live here and you'd like to vote, you can do so in the comment section down below and we will tally those up. But really appreciate all the support there in the chat, and really appreciate all the support for our title sponsor, John. That's MyBookie.
Go to mybookie.ag, use that promo code next round, always there in the corner. You can get a first deposit bonus on us at mybookie.ag. Play in the sportsbook, play in the casino, play in the live casino as well. Go to mybookie.ag.
Thank you to Jace, Landmine Believer, Ryan, Jody, all having me there in the number 1 spot. I really do appreciate your support here on the Meltdown Draft. Trying to make a little bit of a comeback in reputation since I absolutely botched the video game draft, and I promised myself that I will never go that route again of trying to be some sort of corporate shill, and I will draft those picks that I believe are worthy of those spots. So I appreciate it. Boomer, I appreciate the first place vote as well. And I really appreciate all of those that are sort of weighing in with their votes here and being a part of the show. We have Meltdown Triple Threat Trivia tomorrow. Make sure you don't miss that. It should be electric.
There's like this running gag on Twitter of from Reddit, college football, where Kansas, when they were really, really bad, beat Texas randomly one year, then they didn't play for like 10 years after that. Every time Texas would win a big game, it's like, don't let this distract you from the fact that Kansas beat Texas the last time they met. So I'm just going to say the same thing. Don't let this distract you from Tim's video game draft, that he's going to win this one.
Well, no, the video game draft, I take the L on, I do, but I think I'm on the way now to becoming the first ever 3-time draft champion, and I just respect the people from being able to separate the past from the present. Some people change, John, and some people, they end up finding what's valuable, and they push forward, and I think I have resonated with the people here from what I can tell.
I'm great at second place finishes. I'm going to get another one today, so it is what it is.
Yeah. The strategy of not having a closing argument, I think, did hurt you just a little bit. I mean, you literally ceded your time over.
Everybody stopped after the first 2 and gave you the win, so.
Okay.
So I stopped.
Well, we will end things there. I'm sure everything is on the up and up here. Tag team trivia is going to be electric tomorrow for sure, and we will see how the wheel screws John, which I'm sure will in some way happen. Should be a lot of fun. That's going to do it for us here on The Meltdown. Make sure you're with us once again tomorrow live around 2 o'clock Central. If we're not there right at 2, give us a few minutes. We got to get the studio prepped and everything ready to go. So we will definitely be with you live tomorrow as we are prepping the arena for tag team trivia. And make sure you visit our title sponsor. That's MyBookie.